United States Army celebrates 240th anniversary on June 14, 2015, the oldest and largest of our armed force services. The Army is the world's premier fighting force.
Yeah.
Its mission is to fight and win our nation's wars by providing prompt, sustained land dominance across the full range of military operations and spectrum of conflict in support of combatant commanders. The Continental Congress created the Continental Army on June 14, 1775 to fight the British in our War of Independence. George Washington was appointed its first commander. By fighting a war of attrition with the use of guerrilla hit-and-run tactics, the Continental Army was able to defeat what was then the most powerful military force in the world, thereby securing our birth as a nation. After the Revolutionary War, the Continental Army was disbanded because there was a distrust of standing armies based on our experience with the British. State militias remained. As we grew as a nation, however, it was realized that we needed a standing army in addition to state militias. In 1791, the Army was reestablished, then called the Legion of the United States, and it was renamed the United States Army in 1796. In 1801, President Thomas Jefferson directed that the Army post at West Point, New York, be turned into the United States Military Academy. Since its creation, 1802, the United States Military Academy has been producing junior Army officers, second lieutenants. Graduate of the school include Ulysses S. Grant, John Pershing, Dwight Eisenhower, and Norman Schwarzkopf. Beginning in 1960, I like to kick your butt.
Come on, Doug, come on. It sounds good.
Beginning in 1960, shortly before our involvement in World War I, in the First World War, the need for more junior officers was met through the creation of the Reserve Officers Training Corps, the ROTC. On many college campuses, one of the more famous ROTC graduates was George Marshall, an alumnus of the Virginia Military Institute, and a Nobel Prize winner who, a Secretary of the State, oversaw the rebuilding of Europe after World War II in what became known as the Marshall Plan. With the start of World War II, additional junior officers were deployed through the newly established Officers Candidate School, OCS. Notable individuals such as National Review founder William F. Buckley, Jr. became second lieutenant in the Army by completing OCS training.
Come on.
During the history of the Army, enlisted soldiers include those who volunteered or were drafted. In 1973, the Army, as did the other armed services, became all volunteer. The Army is currently made up of three components. Active duty soldiers comprise the regular Army, and part-time soldiers comprise either the Army National Guard or the Army Reserves. Members of the Army National Guard are also members of the state militias. When not called into active service of the United States, where they would be under command of the President. National Guard units are commanded by the governors of the various states and territories where the units are located. The D.C. National Guard is under the command of the President or his designee. The Army is presently divided among the combat arms branches: infantry, the combat support branches, Signal Corps, the combat service support branches, Nurses Corps, and the special branches, General Staff Detail. There are around 1 million soldiers now serving in the regular Army, National Guard, and Reserves. The Army has been faithfully fighting to preserve the American way of life for 240 years. We are fortunate to have it, along with our other armed services, constantly standing guard. Thank you.